Okay, so this video is about my understanding of the 7 questions created by Stanislavski in order to help actors understand creative choices behind a certain character. So I'm going to just go through them and just explain my understanding of how that helps my how that helps my development of this character of Michael. So number one, who am I? My name is Michael Flynn. I'm 18 years old, only just 18, so not used to the idea of the whole concept of being 18 and being able to go to the cinema and seeing a 18 rated film and everything like that. Um, but uh, only just turned 18, and he also has autism as well, which also doesn't help his understanding of certain social cues. So, for example, my understanding of his autism is that he has Asperger's. So rather than it being some sort of autism that he doesn't understand things because he's considered stupid, which obviously isn't the case, but he instead is more intelligent and looks at things in more of a logical approach rather than in a sort of sentimental or emotional approach. Um, so he can often be considered quite inconsiderate a lot of the time, but that's not necessarily the case. It's not he doesn't care, it's just that he can't understand a lot of the time. And we'll get into those in a bit. So the second one, where am I? So he lives in Manchester. Um, so we've established, um, and this being, it's not like it's not a small town or anything. It's a city. It's big. It's full of people. There's a lot of things going on there, and that would help his understanding of almost his development of his autism in a sense. So whereas of course he would be quite overwhelmed a lot of the time with certain things happening, like lots of people somewhere, a lot of noise and stuff like that. He's quite sensitive to that. He's going to become a bit more developed. He's a bit more almost not necessarily immune to it, but a lot more stronger towards it. He's developed it enough, I suppose. But he also lives with his older sister Rose, who acts almost as his acts almost as his carer, but not necessarily his carer. More just there to support him if he needs the help, sort of thing. When it comes to these sensory overloads and stuff. Number three, what time is it? So it's daytime. It doesn't really imply a lot to his character, but it does imply for the play itself. They shout a lot at each other. Well, there are moments where they would shout at each other and stuff, and also possibly Mike would have quite a serious bedtime regimen as well. Like he would go to bed quite early, I imagine, in order because he knows obviously he needs to be up early and stuff like that. So he needs to know that he needs a lot of sleep and everything. So that would be one of those reasons. But the main thing is it's modern day. Now the good thing about him in modern day is the fact that he, well, the us as a society are a lot more understanding of autism than we might have been in the past. So rather than looking at it as necessarily like a mental illness or like an insanity sort of thing, we're looking at it as, oh, they've got autism, they need the help, they need support and stuff like that. So there's a lot more people understanding, like his teacher, who I'm going to get into that as well. And also, not only that, his mother's also just passed away recently. He doesn't understand it very well. He knows she's died, but he doesn't understand the social or moral implications behind that. So that, once again, makes him come off as quite inconsiderate. What do I want? So, Michael really just wants to live a normal life. A relatively normal life with obviously autism and everything. He can't control that. But he wants to be seen as normal. He wants to be seen as someone who has friends, somebody who gets their work in on time, someone who's a hard worker, not someone who takes the pity off of other people. Not someone who not someone who would go, oh well, I'm getting a lot more time, so I can just kind of take my time with stuff. He'd rather get all the work done, like for his teacher, he'd rather get all the work done in time rather than getting the extra deadlines before, so he doesn't get treated it doesn't seem like he's being treated differently. So he wants to get through college as well, which is, obviously getting the deadlines and stuff. And why do I want it? And that obviously goes back to this. He doesn't want to be seen as somebody who has this. He doesn't want to be seen as somebody who takes pity, who is getting, people take pity on him. He wants to be seen as, oh well, he's Michael. He's Michael Flynn. He's not all that. He's not like, oh, he's whatever. He's Michael Flynn. He's a normal person who wants to do well and wants to get on with his life and just be seen as normal, which is obviously quite hard considering his circumstances. How do I get what I want? So Michael, of course, he doesn't see it as he doesn't get sad about things necessarily. He won't get sad about the idea that people are treating him differently, but he doesn't like the idea that people are treating him differently. He doesn't like the idea that he's being treated as a child, which is the biggest thing. He doesn't like the idea that he's being treated as a child. And so he's going to try and just be seen as normal as possible, and just keeping to his schedules as well, because keeping to his schedules, he can then try and keep his brain in check, and because as long as he can do that, he'll be seen as more organised, if anything. So maybe the autism won't show as much, but he'll be seen as just organised, which is, a good thing. People like to see people who are organised with his understanding of the train schedules and stuff. And finally, what must I overcome to get what I want? So, again, this all just goes back to all the rest of it, really. Michael just, there's nothing he really needs to do. There's nothing he can just go around and be like, oh, well, I'm going to have to achieve this goal. He just kind of wants to get on with what he's doing, so people will look at him as somebody who's organised rather than somebody with autism. So he's going to keep on with his college work and try and get in on time. He's going to keep to his schedules. He's going to do all that. And also, but one of the main things that he needs to get over is his sister, who doesn't seem to understand very well that she has her moments, because obviously she's quite neurotypical. She doesn't really have these problems or anything. But because he might not be able to understand a lot of the time, there are moments that he can't understand when she's stressed or upset. He might say the wrong thing, again, coming across as insensitive and inconsiderate, and then she'll get annoyed at him, in which he'll get annoyed at her, which would then start an argument. So he needs to basically get over, almost as if, not necessarily, tell his sister that she's doing the wrong, but just trying to get past that barrier that his sister is. Not intentionally, but she is being a barrier in a sense. So, there we go. That's my understanding in 8 minutes.